Blue and red lights slashed through the night rain, reflecting off the black hood of the Tesla. Dr. Michael Avery's hands tightened on the steering wheel, not from guilt, but from memory. The siren's echo hit something deep, something generational. "License and registration," the officer barked, voice sharp with that practiced authority, the kind that didn't invite questions. Michael moved slow, deliberate. "It's in the glove compartment. Keep your hands where I can see them." The flashlight beam seared his eyes, bouncing off his hospital ID still clipped to his scrubs. The name read Dr. Michael Avery, Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery. The officer didn't see it, or refused to. "You think driving a car like this makes you better?" The cop's lip curled, rain dripping from the brim of his hat. "Out here, you're nobody." That word, nobody, landed harder than the rain. Michael's pulse ticked up, not from fear but fury strangled into composure. The parking ticket printer clicked open, but this wasn't about a ticket anymore. The officer leaned closer, eyes narrowing. "What's in the bag?" Michael followed his gaze. The black medical kit on the passenger seat, still damp from the night's emergency surgery. "Open it," the officer ordered. Michael hesitated. The officer's hand went to his gun. A voice cracked the air from the police radio. "All units, stand by. Car owner identified as Dr. Michael Avery, attending surgeon at St. Luke's. Repeat, surgeon?" The officer froze. Rain hissed louder, swallowing the silence between them. Michael looked up, eyes calm, voice low. "You still think I'm nobody?" The radio crackled again. This time it wasn't static, it was the sound of everything about to change. Rain slicked the asphalt, blurring streetlights into ribbons of gold. Dr. Michael Avery drove in silence, classical music low, exhaustion heavy after a marathon surgery that had lasted into the night. His white coat lay folded in the passenger seat beside his medical kit. Then the siren screamed. He blinked, checked the speedometer, 42 and a 40, nothing reckless. Still, the patrol car behind him flashed its lights again. Michael pulled over. Engine idle, breath steady. The officer approached, flashlight slicing through the downpour. "License and registration." Michael lowered his window halfway. "Of course, officer. May I reach for my hands on the wheel?" "Yes, sir." The beam hit his face, lingered. The officer, Cole Jenkins, badge number 742, stepped closer, rain dripping off his hat brim. "Where you headed this late?" "Home. St. Luke's Hospital." Jenkins eyed the Tesla interior, the pressed shirt, the still damp scrubs. "Hospital, huh? You a janitor or something?" Michael's jaw flexed. "Surgeon?" Jenkins' lip twitched, a smirk or disbelief. "That right?" He circled the car, peering through the back window. "Mind stepping out?" Michael did. The rain hit cold. The pavement shimmered beneath flashing red. Popped the trunk. "Officer, is there a problem?" "Problem's what I decide it is." Michael met his gaze. Steady. "Then I'd appreciate you deciding quickly." That line landed sharper than intended. Jenkins's hand twitched toward his holster. "You got a smart mouth." Michael said nothing. His pulse thudded steady in his ears. Not fear, control. "What's in the passenger bag?" "Medical equipment." "Open it." Michael hesitated. "That bag contains sterile—" "Open it." He reached slowly, unzipping the kit. The gleam of scalpels, clamps, syringes reflected the flashing light. Jenkins's voice dropped. "What the hell is all this?" "I told you. I'm a surgeon. You expect me to believe that?" Rain drummed harder. Somewhere in the dark, a car slowed, headlights lingering before speeding past. "License," Jenkins said again. Michael extended it. The officer took it, studied the name, frowned. "Stay right there." Jenkins turned toward his cruiser, radio dispatch. The exchange was low and clipped, until his tone changed. "Say that again?" A pause. Then, over the rain, Michael heard it too. "Registered owner, Dr. Michael Avery, Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery, St. Luke's." Jenkins turned, eyes flickering between disbelief and panic. Michael stood still, calm, wet, tired beyond words. "Everything all right, officer?" The words hit like quiet thunder. Jenkins forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Just a misunderstanding." Michael didn't move. "You drew your weapon for a misunderstanding?" Jenkins swallowed hard, lowering his flashlight. "You can go, sir." Michael walked back to his car, movements deliberate, silent. He slid into the seat, shut the door, and looked at his reflection in the rain-streaked mirror. He didn't start the engine. Not yet. Outside, Jenkins stood motionless under the storm, radio still crackling with Michael's name. Inside, Michael whispered to no one, not even himself. This wasn't the end. It was the incision. The morning broke gray and restless. Rain still clung to the city like residue from a bad dream. Dr. Michael Avery sat at his kitchen counter, mug untouched, scrolling through his phone. Notifications stacked like debris, texts from colleagues, voicemails from journalists, and one message that made his stomach tighten. "You're trending." He opened it. The video. It was shaky, filmed from across the street, but clear enough. Flashing lights, his voice calm, the officer's gun hand twitching. Then the radio call. Dr. Michael Avery, Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery. The comment section was a war zone. Finally, someone caught one of these on camera. He's lying, probably fake credentials. Imagine pulling a gun on the guy who saves lives. The screen buzzed again. "Unknown number." He answered. "Dr. Avery, this is Dana from St. Luke's Public Relations. We need to discuss the situation." Michael's eyes stayed on the video as it replayed. "You mean the assault?" A pause. "Let's avoid loaded terms. The department's reviewing the footage and the hospital's image is being tied to it. We'd like you to remain neutral publicly. No statements, no interviews." He turned toward the window. The skyline blurred in mist. "Neutral?" "Just until things settle down." Michael's voice went low. "I was profiled at gunpoint." "By a city employee." "Neutral isn't an option." Dana sighed, voice polished with institutional calm. "We appreciate your perspective. But there are donors to consider, and the board feels—" He hung up. The silence afterward was thick, almost physical. A knock at the door. He opened it to find Lena, his neighbor, early 40s, brown skin, hair wrapped in a towel, holding her phone like evidence. "Michael, that video's everywhere. Are you okay?" He nodded once. "Fine." "You don't look fine." He didn't answer. She stepped closer. "People are saying the cop's name is Jenkins. Same precinct that's been under review last year. You gonna press charges?" "I don't know yet. You should. I need to think." Lena hesitated. "Thinking's good. But they're already spinning it. Don't let them define what happened." He closed his eyes. Her words landed like truth he wasn't ready to hold. When she left, he turned the TV on. Every channel had his face now. The grainy screenshot, the byline. "Prominent surgeon wrongly targeted in police stop." Cut to press conference. Police spokesperson in front of blue drapes and an American flag. "The department takes allegations of misconduct seriously. Officer Jenkins followed standard protocol based on perceived threat indicators. We urge the public not to rush to judgment." Michael felt a chill, not from disbelief but from recognition. The phrasing was surgical, clean, detached, designed to anesthetize outrage. The camera panned briefly to Jenkins exiting the building, face hidden behind sunglasses. Reporters shouted questions. None were answered. Michael muted the TV. He opened his laptop and typed a single sentence in an empty document. "Every time it happens, they call it procedure." He stared at it. Then deleted the line. A new call came. Dr. Nina Patel, his department chair. "Michael, I saw the news." "I'm sorry." "Thanks. You coming in today?" "I took the day off." "Good. HR's having meetings about how to handle the press inquiries. Just be careful what you say publicly." He almost laughed. "Everyone keeps saying that, because they'll twist your words. And if I say nothing, they'll twist your silence." Static filled the line. Neither spoke for a while. Finally, she said softer, "For what it's worth, the residents are proud of you." "We all are." He closed his eyes. "Tell them to focus on their patients." That night, the city moved on as if nothing had happened, but not online. The story kept growing, mutating. Anonymous accounts dug through his history. Photos from medical conferences became proof of elitism. Someone found an old address and posted it. Michael's phone vibrated again. A new voicemail. "Dr. Avery, this is Detective Ruiz, Internal Affairs. We'd like a statement about the incident. Officer Jenkins has filed a report claiming non-compliance during the stop. Please return our call." He replayed that line twice. Filed a report. The absurdity hit him like a punch. He pressed record on his phone and spoke quietly into the mic. This is what happens when truth threatens power. They rewrite it before morning. Then he turned the lights off and sat in the dark, the only illumination coming from the frozen frame on his screen. His own face under flashing red and blue, caught between calm and humiliation. The storm outside had passed. The one inside had just begun. The conference room at City Hall was too bright, too cold, the kind of sterile light that made everyone look guilty. Dr. Michael Avery sat at one end of the long oak table, flanked by the hospital's legal counsel and PR director. Across from him sat two city officials, a deputy commissioner, and a police union representative with his arms folded like a wall. They had called it a fact-finding discussion. It felt more like containment. The deputy commissioner started. Dr. Avery, we appreciate your time. The department recognizes your service to the community. What happened was unfortunate. Michael leaned forward. Unfortunate is a car accident. What happened was a violation. The man's pen stopped mid-scribble. We're still reviewing footage. I've seen it, Michael said. So has the rest of the country. The union rep cut in, a broad man with a thick neck and a rehearsed scowl. With respect, sir, the officer in question had no way of knowing your occupation. He responded to behavior he deemed suspicious. Driving home from work, Michael interrupted, is suspicious now? Late hours, dark area. I'm a surgeon. My hours are late by definition. The PR director shifted in her seat, whispering, Michael, maybe let them. He didn't. Officer Jenkins drew his gun before I said a word. That's not a misunderstanding. That's fear dressed as authority. Silence spread across the table like a stain. The commissioner sighed, voice softening. We're aware of how this looks publicly. Which is why we'd like to discuss a joint statement, something unifying. We could frame it as a learning opportunity. Michael's laugh was short, bitter. A learning opportunity? For the community, she said quickly. And for the department. You mean damage control? Dr. Avery, he cut her off again. You're not here to understand. You're here to manage optics, to make sure this doesn't spread further than it already has. The union rep's jaw tightened. You're turning this into a spectacle, Doctor. We're all just trying to move forward. Moving forward without accountability is just erasing the past, Michael said. And I'm done being erased. The legal counsel beside him placed a careful hand on his arm. Michael, he murmured, remember the hospital's position? I remember exactly where I stand, Michael said, not lowering his voice. And I'm standing right here. The commissioner cleared her throat. Let's remain civil. Michael looked around the room. Every face avoided his. Civility's a luxury you expect from the people you harm. No one spoke after that. The sound of the rain against the windows filled the void. Finally, the PR director broke it. Dr. Avery, if you insist on making a personal statement, please understand the institution won't endorse it. It could impact your position. He turned to her slowly. So my silence is the price of keeping my job? She didn't answer. He stood. Then I'll pay it. Chairs shifted. The commissioner called after him. Doctor, this isn't wise. The press will twist whatever you say. Michael paused at the doorway, raincoat draped over one arm. They can twist the words. They can't twist the truth. He left without shaking hands. Outside, the hallway buzzed with city staff and reporters hovering behind ropes. Flashbulbs ignited as soon as they saw him. Questions flew. Dr. Avery, will you sue? Do you forgive the officer? Are you planning a public statement? He stopped briefly, the crowd parting around him. Ask the department why a man has to be famous before his life is worth protecting. The room fell silent for half a heartbeat before the shouting began again. Cameras chased him to the elevator. He stepped in, pressed the button, and let the doors close on the noise. As the lift descended, his reflection in the mirrored wall looked like a stranger. Rain-damp hair, eyes burning with something between grief and defiance. When he exited into the underground parking lot, the sound of his phone vibrated once more. A new message from unknown subject. You'll regret making this public. No name. No signature. He stared at it until the screen dimmed, then deleted it without saving. Outside, thunder cracked above the city. Inside, Michael started the car, his hands steady on the wheel. The world had turned its cameras on him, and for the first time, he didn't look away. The studio lights burned hotter than any operating room. Cameras stood like silent sentinels, lenses trained on him. Dr. Michael Avery sat across from journalist Alana Cruz, her poise sharp. Her tone prepped for empathy that didn't sound performative. "You ready?" the producer asked. Michael nodded. His reflection in the teleprompter looked composed, but his pulse betrayed him, tapping against his wrist like a metronome. The red light blinked. "Live." Alana began, voice calm but firm. "Dr. Avery, last week a video of your encounter with Officer Cole Jenkins went viral. Millions have seen it. You've remained silent until now. Why speak today?" He drew in a breath. "Because silence is compliance, and I've complied enough for a lifetime." A pause. Cameras shifted slightly for angle. The room tightened around that single sentence. Alana leaned in. "Walk us through that night." He told it plain. The rain, the lights, the word nobody. His tone never rose. The story didn't need embellishment. The facts did their own violence. When he finished, Alana's expression faltered just slightly, the practiced mask cracking. "Did you fear for your life?" Michael's gaze drifted down. "Fear becomes a reflex when you're black in America. But that night, what I felt most wasn't fear. It was exhaustion, the kind that sits in your bones and asks, how many times will I have to survive my own respectability?" The studio went silent. Even the producers hesitated before switching camera angles. She recovered. "And what do you hope comes of all this?" "Accountability," he said simply. "Not for me, I'll live. But for the people who don't get to go viral, the ones no one believes." Alana nodded slow. "The police department claims Officer Jenkins acted within procedure. What's your response?" He looked straight into the lens. "Then procedure is broken." The red light blinked again. Cut to commercial. The instant the cameras went off, Alana exhaled. "Michael, that was powerful. You know what's coming, right?" He nodded once. "I've been ready since the night it happened." Outside the studio, the world was already reacting. Hashtags, headlines, pundits parsing his words like scripture or sin. Within hours, St. Luke's Hospital issued a statement. Dr. Avery's views are his own and do not reflect those of the institution. In the same news cycle, the police department announced, body cam footage under review, pending release. Michael saw both statements from his office, where the blinds were drawn and the air felt stale. A knock came. Nurse Patricia, 50-something, eyes wet. "Saw the interview. We're proud of you." He managed a tired smile. "Thank you." She hesitated. "They're saying they'll release the footage tomorrow." He looked up. "Tomorrow?" "Yeah, it's all over the news." When she left, he sat in the quiet. Tomorrow. Proof. Unfiltered. Part of him felt relief. The other part braced for distortion. Edits, missing frames, the inevitable context. Across town in a modest house with blinds drawn tight, Officer Cole Jenkins watched the same interview. His beer went warm in his hand. On screen, Michael's calm voice filled the living room. "Then procedure is broken." Jenkins's jaw tensed. "You think you're better than me," he muttered at the television. "You think you can ruin my life because you got lucky with a camera." He turned up the volume. The replay looped again. The rain, the command, the hesitation, the gun. He threw the remote. The sound of shattering plastic echoed through the room. From the hallway, his wife's voice, wary, tired. "Cole, stop." He didn't. "They're making me the villain." She said nothing. The silence between them was answer enough. Back in his office, Michael stood by the window. City lights glowing in the distance like 1,000 tiny cameras aimed at him. He whispered to the glass. "Tomorrow decides everything." And somewhere in the newsroom archives, the unedited body cam file waited, time-stamped, untouched, about to make the world watch what Michael had lived through second by second. The footage dropped at 9 a.m., sharp. No warning, no press release, just a raw file uploaded to the department's official site, already mirrored on news channels within minutes. Dr. Michael Avery watched it alone in his office. The hospital's morning hum felt distant, phones ringing, carts rolling, all background noise to the single, shaky lens that now held the truth. The first frame, rain, headlights. Then Jenkins's voice, clipped, commanding, license and registration. "It's in the glove compartment. Keep your hands where I can see them." Each word replayed like a diagnosis. Michael's composure on screen looked superhuman, almost inhuman. the calm of someone who'd had practice surviving moments like this. Then the gun appeared. Not raised, but hovering, close enough. Gasps filled living rooms across the country. Online, the clip spread faster than commentary could keep up. Dravery body cam hit trending within an hour. In a different part of the city, Jenkins sat in his car, engine off, radio silent, watching the same video on his phone. Every pause, every twitch, every glare, magnified now, dissected frame by strangers, he muttered, "They don't know what it's like out there." But even he knew the footage didn't lie. His tone, his posture, all of it painted guilt. By noon, the media storm reached critical mass. News anchors played the clip on repeat. Panel discussions erupted, retired officers defending split-second decisions, activists demanding termination, psychologists decoding tone and body language. Michael's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages from colleagues, journalists, strangers thanking him, others cursing him. His inbox became a battlefield of admiration and hate. "You're a hero. You made it worse for real victims. Don't stop speaking. Stay in your lane. Doctor." He shut the laptop, leaned back, eyes closed. The hospital intercom paged his name. An emergency case needed him in OR 3. He went. Because duty didn't wait for justice. In the operating room, under white light, the noise of the world disappeared. Only the rhythm of the heart monitor mattered. Only the cut, the suture, the steady breath of focus. For 4 hours he became what he'd always been, precise, calm, necessary. But as he scrubbed out, he caught 2 younger surgeons whispering near the sink. Their words weren't malicious, and just quiet, uncertain. "He's that guy from the video." "Yeah, must be weird being him right now." He didn't turn. He just dried his hands, left the room, and walked the hallway in silence. Downstairs, the hospital lobby was lined with cameras again. He moved through them like a ghost, ignoring the questions hurled his way. "Dr. Avery, what's your reaction to the footage? Do you plan to sue the city? Has Officer Jenkins apologized?" He said nothing. His silence became its own kind of headline. That evening, a press conference was called. The police chief stood behind a podium, voice smooth as lacquer. "While the footage raises concerns, our internal review continues. Officer Jenkins has been placed on administrative leave pending further investigation." A reporter shouted, "Leave with pay?" The chief didn't flinch. Standard procedure. Michael watched from his apartment. Face unreadable. Then came the follow-up. A shaky phone recording from Jenkins himself, filmed in his kitchen, eyes red, voice cracked but defensive. "I did what I was trained to do. I followed protocol. If people can't see that, I don't know what to tell them." The clip ended with him turning off the camera mid-breath, like a man realizing too late that truth isn't editable. Public reaction split clean down the middle. Some demanded empathy. Others demanded blood. By midnight, Michael's address had been leaked again. Police cars cruised past his building, not as protection but as presence. A reminder, Lena texted, "You okay? Need me to stay over?" He replied, "I'm fine," then stared at the word until it lost meaning. Outside his window, flashing lights moved across wet streets, blue-red, blue again, the same pattern that started everything. He whispered to the glass, not as anger, not even as prayer. Procedure protects power, not people. In the distance, thunder rolled again, and somewhere across town, Officer Jenkins sat in the dark, scrolling through the comments. Each one a blow heavier than any reprimand. Tomorrow, they would call him in for a disciplinary hearing, and neither man would leave unchanged. The room smelled of polished wood and stale coffee, the kind of sterile anxiety only government buildings could manufacture. Dr. Michael Avery entered the hearing chamber, suit crisp, but his shoulders tight. Every step echoed like a heartbeat, the sound bouncing off the walls lined with observers, reporters, and city officials. Officer Cole Jenkins sat on the opposite side, posture rigid, lips pressed tight. The union representative beside him scribbled notes, eyes darting between Michael and the panel. The hearing began with formalities, oaths, introductions, acknowledgments. Michael's name was called first. He stood, cleared his throat, and began. "I'm here to recount an event that could have ended differently, could have ended tragically. Because a man in uniform chose fear over judgment, he said, voice steady. I will not embellish. I will not exaggerate. The footage speaks for itself. The panel nodded, pen scratching on paper, though no one met his eyes. Jenkins leaned back, hands folded. His voice came sharp when it was his turn. I followed protocol. The driver's behavior, and he hesitated, was uncooperative, and I had to ensure officer safety. Uncooperative? Michael repeated. I answered every command. I didn't move my hands suddenly. I didn't reach for anything except what was legal and necessary. You drew a weapon. A murmur traveled across the chamber. Split-second decisions, Jenkins said. Threat perception. Michael's eyes didn't waver. Threat perception based on what? The color of my skin? The stereotype of my presence? You see procedure as neutral, but it is a weapon, a license to assume danger where none exists. The chairperson tried to interject. Dr. Avery, please. No, he said firmly. This is the evidence. I am the evidence, and the body cam footage confirms it. Watch it. A tech operator projected the video on the wall. Rain lights the command. Hands, gestures, hesitation, the weapon. Unedited, undeniable. Jenkins flinched as the sequence replayed. Each frame a verdict. The panel asked a few muted questions about Michael's compliance. He responded with clarity, restraint, but the undercurrent of righteous anger cut through every word. Then a city official cleared her throat. Officer Jenkins, any comments about the escalation? Jenkins swallowed hard. I followed what I was taught. I did what I believed necessary. I didn't intend to harm, just to control the situation. Michael leaned forward. Control at what cost? My life, my dignity? Officer safety does not justify dehumanizing another human being. You had no right to define my worth with a weapon drawn. The room went silent again. Reporters scribbled rapidly. Cameras captured every blink, every subtle flinch. The chairperson tapped her gavel lightly. We will now hear from witnesses. Michael's colleagues testified via video. Nurses, residents, staff recounting his character, his professionalism, the absurdity of suspecting violence from a man who had been saving lives hours earlier. Then came the internal affairs officer, blunt and precise. Body cam shows escalation initiated by Officer Jenkins. Commands were lawful, but the draw of the firearm was not justified given the driver's compliance. Gasps murmured around the room. Even Jenkins's union representative's pen paused mid-note. Finally, Michael spoke one last time. I did not ask to be a symbol. I asked only to survive a lawful drive home. But symbols are what you make of us. You can punish me, ignore me, or celebrate me, but you cannot erase what happened. A ripple passed through the chamber. Jenkins stared at the floor, jaw tight, knuckles white. The gavel fell. Hearing adjourned. Findings will be announced in writing. Michael left the chamber without a word. The echo of the gavel behind him like a drumbeat marking the end of innocence and the start of accountability. Outside, the press surged forward. Flashbulbs ignited. Dr. Avery. Reaction? He didn't answer. He walked to his car, rain falling lightly now, washing the city in gray light. His reflection in the puddles was calm, weary but resolute. In a quiet corner of the city, Jenkins returned to his apartment. He sat in the dark, television muted, replaying the hearing clips, dissecting every expression, every sentence. The certainty he'd carried for years, that procedure equaled justice, now felt hollow. He scrolled through online comments, each one a small verdict, a public judgment he could not escape. The union representative texted, "We'll handle this. Stay put." Jenkins didn't reply. He couldn't. Michael, meanwhile, drove through the city streets thinking not of revenge but of consequence. The officer would face disciplinary action, yes, perhaps termination, but the personal cost, the moral exhaustion, the public scrutiny, were burdens Michael would carry too. The world had watched. Justice had begun, but the wound was not yet healed. As he arrived home, he paused, hands on the steering wheel, staring at the rain-soaked asphalt. The city seemed different, brighter in some places, darker in others. He whispered under his breath, a promise more than a reflection. Truth will not be ignored, but it always has a cost. Officer Cole Jenkins walked into the precinct that morning like a man walking through a storm, tense, unsteady, aware of every eye tracking his steps. Administrative leave had turned into a pending investigation, and the rumors circulating online were relentless. Every headline echoed a verdict before the panel's decision. Police misconduct exposed on body cam. Surgeon targeted by officer drawn gun. Public outcry forces department action. Jenkins reached his desk and stared at the stack of memos, official notices, internal warnings, suggested training programs, all pointing to the same conclusion he refused to acknowledge. He was in the wrong. Meanwhile, Dr. Michael Avery arrived at St. Luke's for rounds. The hospital buzzed with controlled energy, nurses moving with purpose, residents whispering about the viral clip, and the muted presence of security now increased near the entrances. Michael's eyes scanned the halls, calm but vigilant. He knew that the day's reckoning extended beyond the courthouse and administrative channels. Justice, when slow, demanded endurance. By mid-morning, the disciplinary panel released its written findings. Jenkins was terminated. Cited: excessive use of force, racial profiling, abuse of authority. His appeals would likely fail. The news hit the media like wildfire. Michael received dozens of messages, congratulatory notes, relief from colleagues, outrage from supporters of the officer. He read them quietly, his expression impassive. Justice had landed, but satisfaction did not follow. Jenkins, at home, sat staring at his own reflection in the dark window. Termination wasn't just a loss of income. It was a public indictment, a personal unraveling. He scrolled through articles, comments, videos. Each one chipped away at the image he had built over years. Competence, control, authority. All gone, replaced with ridicule, condemnation, and shame. He received a text from the union rep. Prepare a statement. Keep it brief. Damage control only. He didn't respond. Words felt meaningless against the weight of exposure. Michael, unaware of Jenkins's silent collapse, walked to the hospital cafeteria. He paused by a table where two residents whispered, "Dr. Avery, congrats. Everyone's talking about it." "Thank you," he said. He did not linger. There was work to do. Lives to save, procedures to oversee, a city still fraught with systemic injustice. Later, outside the courthouse, Jenkins and Michael crossed paths for the first time since the hearing. Jenkins's eyes flicked toward him, searching for anger, fear, some sign of submission. Michael's face was steady, almost neutral. "You survived," Jenkins muttered, words rough and half-formed. "I did what I had to," Michael said quietly. His gaze did not waver. Jenkins looked down, swallowing. "I didn't. I thought I was doing the right thing." "You thought wrong," Michael replied simply. No flourish. No condemnation beyond the truth. The interaction ended there. Jenkins turned away, swallowed by the crowd of reporters and onlookers. Michael stepped toward his car. Flashbulbs erupted. He did not flinch. By nightfall, Jenkins sat alone, scrolling through social media threads, dissecting his every action. He read comments questioning his integrity, his judgment, even his fitness to wear a badge. Isolation wrapped around him like a cloak. For the first time, he realized the scope of the consequences, not just professionally, but personally, socially, morally. Michael, in contrast, returned to his apartment. He removed his coat, rinsed his face, and stared at the city through rain-streaked glass. He had won accountability, but the exhaustion of being visible, scrutinized, and forced to confront systemic injustice daily weighed on him. The hospital, the media, the world, none could return his stolen sense of security. He sat on the couch, phone silent, lights dimmed. The rain outside tapped against the window in soft, uneven rhythms. It was calm now, but it was not over. Awareness of the city's persistent inequities, of the countless unseen injustices, made the victory feel partial, fragile. And yet, Michael breathed. He would continue. Surgeons, activists, ordinary citizens, and all required endurance in their own ways. Justice had been served, but the vigilance demanded by truth would not rest. Finally, he whispered to himself, a quiet acknowledgement of resilience rather than triumph. Accountability has arrived, but the work continues. Outside, the city lights reflected in puddles. The storm had passed, leaving clarity, exposure, and the long, steady path ahead. The first surgery of the morning smelled of antiseptic and urgency. Dr. Michael Avery moved through the operating room with the precision of habit. Every motion deliberate, every instruction clear. A young patient lay prepped for a cardiac repair, the monitors beeping in a steady rhythm. Michael's hands worked efficiently, but his mind was elsewhere, tracing the events of the past weeks. The stop. The viral video, the hearings, the relentless scrutiny. Even here in the sanctity of the OR, the wait lingered. The victory over Officer Jenkins was real and official, yet incomplete. The cost had imprinted itself on him. During post-op rounds, he encountered a family whose eyes could not conceal their hesitation. The father, stiff and careful with every word, avoided eye contact. The mother's hand hovered uncertainly before shaking his. "Dr. Avery," she said finally, voice measured. "Thank you for your work," Michael nodded. The gesture was small, the acknowledgement cautious. He understood. Trauma didn't vanish with headlines or terminations. The prejudice that had placed him under threat had left marks far beyond the courtroom or the viral clips. In the hallway, residents whispered again. Some expressed admiration, others anxiety. Unsure of how to navigate a hospital suddenly under the glare of public opinion, Michael guided them through the morning cases, teaching with the same meticulous care he always had, even as the echoes of recent events clung to the sterile air. Outside the hospital, the world continued. Social media cycles moved on to the next controversy. Jenkins's termination made headlines for days, then faded into the broader pattern of publicized misconduct cases. Michael had hoped for closure, but closure was never fully granted. Only temporary reprieves between episodes of vigilance. Even personal spaces offered no sanctuary. Emails from unknown senders, comments on professional forums, reminders of what could have happened, all kept the night alive in fragments of fear and memory. Michael learned to navigate it silently, a private resilience that contrasted with his public composure. By late afternoon, Michael found himself in the hospital cafeteria, alone with a cup of lukewarm coffee. The city beyond the windows glinted with muted sunlight, traffic moving, people walking, oblivious to the storm that had passed here. He reflected on the broader system, the officers who were never caught on camera, the victims whose names would never trend, the procedures that protected authority instead of human life. His own exposure had forced accountability, but countless others remained unseen. The victory was partial, fragile. A resident approached quietly. "Dr. Avery, thank you again. We're learning more than medicine from you lately." Michael gave a tired smile. "Then keep learning. That's how change starts." Later at home, he opened the laptop and reviewed the news feeds one last time. Jenkins's isolation, professional downfall, and public scrutiny were visible, undeniable, but they were also reminders of the uneven toll of exposure. The city had reacted, but it had not healed. Michael felt the permanence of vigilance settle over him like a second skin. He looked out the window into the darkening sky. Rain began again, light at first, then heavier, tapping the streets and reflecting the scattered city lights. He could hear nothing but the rhythm, steady and unyielding. It reminded him that life, like accountability, demanded patience, endurance, and attention. Michael whispered to himself, almost as a mantra, "Justice arrived, but the cost remains." He set the cup down, hands folded, mind returning to tomorrow's work, tomorrow's patience, tomorrow's vigilance. The city would continue, people would continue, systems would continue, and he would continue alongside them, aware of the burdens borne quietly by those who survived to witness truth. The storm outside softened. Inside, the quiet lingered, heavy but steady, a reminder that resilience, not victory, was the true measure of survival. Months had passed. The media storm had faded, Jenkins's name relegated to archives and search results, but the memory of the night remained etched in Michael Avery's mind, like a scar that refused to heal. The city moved on, indifferent, unaware. Yet Michael carried the vigilance of that experience into every corner of his life. Today, he was scheduled for one of the most delicate operations of his career. The mayor, a high-profile patient with a complex cardiac condition. The hospital was tense. Security tight. Cameras, reporters, and whispers swirled outside, though Michael remained insulated in the operating theater. The OR lights burned white. Instruments gleamed and monitors hummed in sync with the patient's steady heartbeat. Michael scrubbed in, sleeves rolled, gloves snapping into place. Each motion was ritualistic, precise, familiar. The adrenaline of responsibility replaced the adrenaline of fear. But the lessons of past events remained: vigilance, composure, attention to every detail. As the team positioned for the incision, Michael's mind briefly flashed to the video, the hearing, the glare of cameras, and Jenkins's stunned, defeated gaze. Every moment of that ordeal had carved him differently, made him sharper, more deliberate, more aware of the fragility of control in the hands of others. The surgery began. Hours passed with meticulous coordination. Residents observed, nurses anticipated, instruments passed seamlessly. Michael's voice guided each step, calm but authoritative, masking the exhaustion beneath. When the procedure concluded successfully, applause was brief but sincere. The mayor's family expressed gratitude, though still with the polite distance of high-profile observers. Michael acknowledged them, nodding with professionalism, masking the quiet satisfaction and lingering tension that accompanied success. Later, stepping out of the OR, he paused in the hallway. The city outside the hospital windows gleamed in the late afternoon sun, cars flowing, lives continuing as if the storm of months ago had been nothing but a distant echo. Yet he knew it hadn't been nothing. He walked alone to the staff lounge. Lena, his neighbor and friend, had texted, "Congrats. You survived it all. Proud of you," he replied briefly. "It's not over. But thanks." Michael sat quietly, reflecting on the balance of victory and cost. Jenkins's career had crumbled. The public had witnessed accountability. But Michael had learned the enduring truth. Exposure and justice could arrive. But trauma and vigilance did not vanish with headlines. That evening, the hospital was quieter. Michael returned to his office. The building hushed except for the distant beeping of monitors. He opened the window to the skyline, rain threatening to fall, city lights reflecting in puddles below. The world was alive and indifferent. He placed his hand on his chest, feeling the faint thrum of exhaustion mingled with endurance. The pulse monitor from the OR earlier still echoed in his mind. Steady, human, unyielding. It was a reminder that life persisted, that each heartbeat carried weight, that survival demanded resilience. Michael allowed himself a brief moment to breathe, to acknowledge the cumulative burden of months of scrutiny, trauma, and resilience. A soft vibration from his phone reminded him of a message. "Your interview is being cited in a new medical ethics panel. They want your input." Michael didn't respond immediately. He set the phone down, focusing instead on the rhythm of his own pulse. Outside, distant thunder rolled softly, a reminder of storms past and storms yet to come. Inside, he felt the quiet pulse of continuity, patience, colleagues, justice, endurance. The city around him moved on, but he carried memory, vigilance, and commitment in every deliberate step he took. He whispered to no one, a vow and acknowledgement intertwined. Life continues. Truth persists, and I endure. The lights dimmed in the office. Rain began falling softly against the glass, pattering like gentle percussion. Michael stood at the window, hands folded, eyes scanning the horizon. The pulse was steady, a signal of persistence, of survival, of the work that would continue. He knew the world had changed slightly, imperceptibly, for the better. Not fully, not completely, but enough to prove that accountability, however partial, mattered. And though scars remained, resilience endured. Michael Avery turned from the window, the quiet weight of months settling alongside him. Tomorrow would come, patients would need him, and the city would continue to turn. But he would meet it, fully aware, fully present, and unbroken. The pulse, steady and human, filled the room.